And then that really overlapped into the family, because if you're not spending any time at home, it's stressful and it causes a lot of attention, as opposed to putting in the family stuff first on your calendar and then adding the work.
Ever feel like you're in a constant competition between your career and your husband's patience? Your kids think you work too hard, but hey, you're doing it all for them, right? The struggle is real, and I've been there too. Moments of feeling like a crappy mom and wife because once again, your kids had breakfast on their way to school, and you've got more important things on your plate than cooking and cleaning. Hey there, working moms who are juggling a million things and still wondering if you're doing it right. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a mama of 3, and married for 24 years. Welcome to the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast, where we dive deep into the messy, chaotic, and sometimes hilarious world of mastering motherhood, marriage, and business. I get it. Balancing it all was never the goal, but here we are, trying anyway. I'm here to share my journey and guide you through yours. No more apologies for being driven, and definitely no compromises on your dreams. Together, we'll navigate the challenges of being a powerhouse in both business and family life. Join me as we tackle the uncomfortable conversations, from being the breadwinner to changing the rules of what a marriage looks like. Let's figure out how to parent in a working parent household without the constant arguments or guilt. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and this is Empowered and Unapologetic, where we embrace the chaos, challenge the norms, and strive to live life on our own terms. Get ready for some real talk, actionable tips, and a few laughs along the way. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast, where we support high-achieving women and working moms navigating the challenges of marriage, motherhood, and their careers. Today's guest, Kay Lee Fukui, brings a wealth of insight from anyone juggling business and family life. As an entrepreneur and co-creator of Power Couples by Design, Kay Lee knows firsthand the delicate balance required to thrive in both work and home life. With a background in business and marketing, Kay Lee helps married entrepreneurs create harmony by blending corporate best practices with family values. Together with her husband, Robert, she empowers couples to overcome entrepreneurial struggles and transform their relationships and businesses into a unified success story. Kay Lee, I am so excited to dive into this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited. So, recognizing pain points. Many married entrepreneurs struggle to keep their business and personal lives separate. What are the most common challenges couples face when trying to balance these two worlds?
Well, it kind of starts back with my childhood. I'm third generation entrepreneur, and my dad worked 6 days a week, so he wasn't home much. And it was really challenging on our family. I know, like, my high school graduation to this day, I still don't know if he attended. I don't think he did. Mm-hmm. And so that was just a real struggle. The business became the mistress, and it just added a lot of tension on our family. And my mom basically raised 4 strong-willed children. I think my dad rather go to work than be home with his kids, driving them nuts, you know? So that's kind of how it started with myself.
What would you say are the most common challenges couples face when trying to balance these two worlds?
I think we're trying to do too much. And we say prioritize, you know what I mean? Like, redo your whole calendar and put family down first. Plug in what you want to do with your family. You know, it doesn't have to be these huge, because when I say to people, you know, date night, oh, I don't have time for date night. I'm like,
I hear that all the time.
How much time is date night? You know what I mean? Like, if you go out on a Friday night, say an hour, 2 hours, I mean, you don't have that. And put in the time you want to spend with your kids. What's the bare minimum? Of course, we want you to spend more time than than that, but sometimes it's 5 minutes checking in with your child in the morning, giving them your full attention, no phone, you're present, you're not thinking about what I'm going to do today, and seeing how are you.
Yeah, of
That
course.
doesn't take a long time. I know, like at the end of the workday for my husband and I, the way we end it, and we're real intentional about that, is we take the dog for a walk. So it's a way to decompress, ask how your day was. So then when you get back home to the house, we're not talking about work.
No,
I'm
I
able to
love
put on
that.
a different hat.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of the hidden costs of prioritizing business over family that you've observed?
Well, some of those are, we can always find one more thing to do in business. It's never ending, especially when you have your own. So it's always
Yes.
easy to do more in business. And then that really overlaps into the family, because if you're not spending any time at home, it's stressful and it
Yeah.
causes a lot of attention, as opposed to putting in the family stuff first on your calendar and then adding the work that you
Yeah.
want to get
So
done.
I think we're all so quick to put the business needs ahead of family because in our minds, our family is um, a lot more, what is the word? I can't think of the word right now, like accepting, but not accepting, but when you apologize, forgiving. There we go. Sorry, I had to process that through.
That's fine.
Our families are so much more. We think that our families are so much more forgiving than a deadline,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we'll compromise that time away from our family to go ahead and meet these deadlines. I know there was a point in mine and my husband's marriage where my husband had told me, straight up, Veronica, I no longer want to compete with your career. And I remember hearing that and feeling so defensive because, well, I didn't want to compete with your career, but you were a Marine and you going to war wasn't negotiable. So, I remember telling my husband, suck it up, pretend I'm in Iraq or Afghanistan fighting a war because this is a business war. And I didn't realize how harsh that sounded and where it was really coming from. And a lot of it was coming from my own insecurities, my own fears of, developing the business and not feeling so confident, that I would be able to sustain it. And so for me, I remember constantly doing this comparing game and being very, very contemptuous, extremely contemptuous in the relationship early. I don't want to say early on, but I know that was something that was happening over and over again. And the hidden cost of that, of me prioritizing my business over my family, was developing this unhealthy level of resentment that just grew over time.
Yeah, and that happens as a child, as an entrepreneur family as well, because, with legacy, a lot of times the family wants to leave the business to one of the children, and we're like, we don't want nothing to do with that because that was competition. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, and so that also happens for your spouse as well, competing. And stats show, just because the go-to for entrepreneurs is putting more work in, more time, which that's not necessarily being productive. We think in our mind, if I work 80 hours a week, all this stuff I'm getting done, but your productivity goes way down after 40, 50 hours a week.
What other hidden costs? So can you give me more examples of hidden costs that you see couples face with when one of them or both of them is prioritizing business? So you mentioned kids being feeling as if they're in competition with a career, husbands feeling as if they're in competition with a career. What other costs are there?
Conflict. Not being able to resolve conflict because, oh, you're always working, you're never home. Oh, you always need something from me. And not being able to resolve conflict. In my household growing up, the way we dealt with conflict is we just walk out of the room on each other. We'd hang up on the phone, get in the car, storm out of the driveway. And so when you're unable to resolve conflict, that makes the relationship have even more stress on it, because you're going in two different directions and you just keep piling things up we can't talk about or under the carpet. And then all of a sudden it either explodes or people just like, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. But once you're able as a couple to resolve things, oh my gosh, you can move forward so much easier in your business and in your family life.
Yeah, you don't have that sort of lingering feeling of, I'm in conflict right now at home, like, because that does pop up. I know
Mhm.
anytime my husband and I were in an argument that wasn't necessarily resolved, or we didn't use skills to, you know, get through it. Yeah, that would definitely be weighing on me heavily, until I would address it. So I love that you mentioned that. Running a business with your spouse can amplify stress and tension. How can couples avoid letting business disagreements spill over into their personal lives?
Well, I think one for us was we learned, well, we went through this early on when we were working together. We do the DISC profile now with our clients and print out the different personalities, but sometimes we just need a warm body in that spot, like, oh, I
Hmm.
just need you to do this because you don't want to hire somebody. For me, it was we needed someone to do QuickBooks. So my husband said, can you do QuickBooks? And I didn't want to say no. I thought, oh, I can do this. So I'm totally in the wrong position. I'm the creative type. And so he'd ask me, oh, did you get QuickBooks done? I said, no, I just keep putting it off. And he's like, honey, you need to do it. So then I get in there to do it. And he comes back and he's like, honey, this is all wrong. He's like, it has to be. This is numbers. It's got to be perfect. And I'm like, well, I'm doing my best. So
Yeah.
then it would trigger me and then it would trigger him. And then it would just be a hot mess, as opposed to if your spouse is wanting to help out, put them in a role or something that they're good at.
Yeah. No, Willie was helping me. That's my husband's name. Willie was helping me for a while in the business. And, um, I remember, I remember like feeling as if I can just if I can just duplicate my work ethic with your work ethic, then everything would be fine. And to my husband, he's like, well, you don't even know how to, and there's where the contempt came in. You don't even know how to you don't even know how to lead. You're dictating, and it's like, I do know how to lead. It's just, you don't know how to do your job, or you don't know how to do
Mm-hmm.
this, or you avoid feeling uncomfortable. And so instead you lag on getting certain things done. And to your point, I love that you said, really, if you are going to work together, being able to identify in what areas does each person excel, because there'll be so much greater progress, so much greater productivity, as opposed to trying to force your way to fit a certain role and only engaging in conflict and the work not being done.
And it doesn't even have to be them working together. I figure
Yeah.
like if they have a business in my mind, like say, you have a business and so then your husband's married to you. So you guys have a business together, but it's going to, it's going to affect him in some form of fashion. Usually he marries somebody opposites of us.
Hmm.
And I remember my husband was really detailed, well, still is when I got married. And, it got to kind of rub me the wrong way. I'm like, oh, you're so detailed. But now I learn to embrace it and think, oh my gosh, this is a great thing. If there's something I'm doing as super detailed, I'll have him look at it.
Yep.
Um, I know like Dave Ramsey, his wife doesn't work in the business, the day to day, but if he's hiring, he takes his wife. They'll go to dinner with a potential person they want to hire, and he takes his wife. And if she likes the person, he'll hire them. If
Hmm.
not, because she's got discernment, then he's like, forget it. This isn't going to work because
Yeah.
that's just one of her giftings.
Hmm. How do you help couples navigate feelings of resentment or disconnect that often arise when one person feels more invested than the other?
A couple of things come to mind. I think a lot of times couples need to play together more. We're
Hmm.
so like raising the kids, doing the work, doing the laundry, whatever it is, but we don't play anymore. We don't connect in a fun way, like
Yep.
getting out and just doing something, getting away and enjoying, getting out in nature, whatever that could look like to you. And then the other thing is a vision. Come up with a vision for your business, for your family. What is the vision? What do you want to do? My husband and I, we love to travel, so we do workations. Every
Hmm.
time he gets a speaking engagement or something, then we try and add a couple days onto that to have fun. So what does that look like to you? Because a lot of times we have individual ones, but when you bring them together, your vision, it's even better. A lot of times it's stuff you didn't even think about. And then talk about that on a regular basis. So that's something you can connect and look forward to.
Hmm. I love that. So with resentment, what would you say are key indicators that resentment has now entered the relationship?
I think resentment can come from a lot of different places. Sometimes it can start at childhood, I think, and you get triggered. A lot of times, my husband or sometimes he'll say something to me and I'll get triggered, and it actually has nothing to do with him.
Yep.
It has to do with the childhood wound that I had. And I think sitting down and talking about what some of those, your childhood upbringing, the family of origin, what that looked like, it's easier to understand and have empathy for your spouse. And then if there's some resentment, sit down and talk about those. We have what my husband and I call rules of engagement. So in my family, as I said earlier, they walk out on you when they're trying to have a conversation. And early on in our marriage, I thought, if I get in a conflict with my husband, my thought was, oh my gosh, is he going to walk out and never come back? So we help each couple come up with their own rules of engagement. So ours is, if my husband's really upset with me and we don't feel like we can resolve it at the moment, he will say, honey, I love you. I need to take a break. And let's come back at such and such time and talk about it. That way it eases down my nerves because I know he's not leaving me.
Yep.
I know what time he's coming back and when we're going to talk about it. And then he honors that time as opposed to, oh yeah, we'll talk about it later. And then later never happens.
Well, when I'm working with couples, I often see, there's one partner who is completely triggered when their partner leaves and takes a break. That abandonment comes up for them, but let's say their spouse needs that downtime, to just kind of decompress, and they don't have the words, to say. So it appears as if they're stonewalling, when in reality they're trying to come up with some solution. So you have this partner that needs to get things out right away and is the yeller and is very, very intense. And I need to resolve this right now. And then you have the one that's avoidant. What would you say to a couple who finds themselves where one's the avoider and then one's the aggressor?
Well, we would try and come up with a time. We have a set schedule on our calendar every Monday at 3:30 where we talk about business and then we talk about our personal stuff as well. So we know, if something's going on, we can talk about our personal life there. And if not, we will ask, when is a good time to talk? Because there's nothing worse. And I'm known for this. My husband's in the middle writing content, doing something super focused. I'll walk into his office, honey, I need to talk. You know what I mean? And he's like, what? And it just triggers him. And then it's obviously not a good time. So then, asking when is a good time so that we can talk about this, and then honoring that for your spouse, because then I think that kind of eases things, knowing when there's a time and a date that you're going to be able to talk about it.
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns, some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time! You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
Clear communication is often cited as a solution, but what does good communication look like for couples?
I think sometimes that could be, what are the expectations? Like if my husband asked me to do something for him, I'm like, okay, honey, what are the expectations? Are you expecting this to be perfect? Because if you are, then maybe I'm not the person to do it. If not, don't be like, okay, I can do it. I think The other thing is asking them, what do they need?
Mm-hmm.
Because one time my husband asked me, what did I need? And I said I needed a hug. So he gave me
Yeah.
a hug, and then I walked away. And he's
Yes.
like, wait, I got like 10 solutions to your problem, and they can't be that easy. There's got to be more to it that I can help you with. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I just need a hug. And that was seriously, Veronica, all it took was
I
that,
believe it.
as opposed to him trying to guess, you know what I mean? And then I get more upset because he's not guessing correctly.
I think that's like, as we're talking about this, oftentimes with really good, clear communication, what gets in the way is personalizing maybe your partner's mood, personalizing where your partner's at, and then wanting to change that or wanting to resolve it. So I appreciate how you gave that example of, ask the question, what do you need? Like, what do you need? And making sure, obviously, you're not doing it in a sarcastic,
Right.
way, but really, really asking. And if you're asking that question, being willing to listen and hear what your partner is requesting. Because oftentimes with attempting to have that really good, clear communication, those emotions get in the way and they blur, our focus in what potentially we were trying to say or what we were trying to convey.
Well, and
Do
I
you
think
work
if
with?
you know ahead of time, sorry, what you need, you can preface it that. Be like, you know what, I
Mm-hmm.
really need a hug, or I need a solution, or I need you to listen. If we can catch ourselves early enough in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. How can couples create a system for resolving conflicts in both their business and personal lives?
Like I was saying earlier, I think have a something on the calendar where you're consistently meeting up, so you have those appointments where you can talk about stuff if they come up,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like, just letting it pile and pile and pile and then you explode. I mean, I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times, just for myself, knowing that we meet Mondays, a lot of things can wait till Monday for me to have the conversation because I know he's going to have that space for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Gottman, but Gottman
Mm-hmm.
gives the State of the Union meetings, where it's a 20-minute meeting where each person is provided with, or is given 10 minutes, where they're just able to open up and have conversations about whatever has been impacting them with work. It's not necessarily about the relationship, but really opening up about what's going on for them, what they're
Mm-hmm.
struggling with. Those types of connections, I agree, are so important. What steps can couples take to align their individual strengths and create synergy in their business?
I think, like we were talking about earlier, knowing what your personality types are with the disc or whatever form, there's all kinds of stuff out there, and utilizing those strengths that you have. And,
Hmm.
a lot of, like I said, a lot of times we admire somebody opposite and being okay with them being opposite and doing things differently than you. I mean, who knows? It could be even a better idea than what you originally thought. But a lot of times it's just being able to let go and give somebody the opportunity to come in alongside and help you.
What would you say kind of keeps someone from letting go? Like letting go and accepting. So letting go of trying to change their partner, but accepting who their partner for who they are and who they're not.
Oh, I see this happen a lot in work because they think nobody can do it as good as they can in their
Yeah.
job. And so they think they got to do everything and wear all these hats, where in reality, we're not great at everything. We might
Mm-hmm.
think we are, nobody can do it like us, but there's other people that can do it better than us. And you know what? I think, why is it so important to you that it has to be done your way? Why is it so important? The questions to ask yourself that there's no other way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just being okay with how somebody else is doing it. If you ask for help, just say thank you and leave it at that. Because they're probably doing their best. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If they vacuumed or whatever, you know what I mean? The house.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what also gets in the way of couples when you're in that mode is all of that, all of the emotions, of getting something done. And I like how you said it goes so much farther. Um, you also mentioned, something along the lines of, is there a story behind this for you? One question I like to ask my clients are, does this relate to your childhood in any way? When a request was made, what was it met with? Is that something you do as well? Really help them identify, like, where is this coming from? Because for you to be this upset, or this emotional about it, I'm wondering if maybe there's some level of hidden past trauma or unhealed pain.
Well, and not being afraid to get help if you need it, right? I mean, my husband and I, which is in our book, talk about how we met and our love story. But on the fourth date, I asked him to go to counseling. So we did, which was not that easy as it sounds, like I
No,
made it sound.
no.
But we did like 2 years of premarital counseling. So we talked a lot about family of origins. We got to know each other.
Yes.
So you could better understand that when things get heated, like I was saying earlier, a lot of times it's not about you. You just
No.
happen to push a button or, stepped on something and it got triggered.
How do you help couples define roles and responsibilities to minimize overlap and misunderstandings?
I think just sitting down and having the conversation about, what was your childhood look like? Did your mom stay home? Did your dad stay at home? And what would you like to do? And then have the conversation and do a vision around that and what that looks like. And, what are you going to need help in? How can I help you for each couple and how it comes together? I don't think there's one size that fits all for each couple. I think we all are individual as couples, and you need to sit down and have these conversations of what you would like that to look like.
Your program, Power Couples by Design, focuses on harmonizing work and home life. Can you walk us through how it helps couples achieve this balance?
Well, as I was saying, we start out with the vision, and then with the couple and the business, and then we go over and we help them with the relationship, resolve conflict, expectations, communications, triggers, and all that stuff. And then we help them grow the business with the strategies for that, because we believe that if you grow your business and you're making a nice profit, that you will have the money to hire the help that you need so that you can work less hours and have more time to spend with your family.
Yes, of course.
We don't want you to make more money just to work more hours. You know what I mean? We want you to be able to
counterproductive.
Yes.
Yeah. What is one actionable takeaway from your program that listeners can implement immediately?
I would say probably boundaries. That's a huge one. Sitting down and talking about what does the family look like for you. I know, like, one of our clients, they have a chiropractic business, and we started working with him, and he's like, I want to spend more time with my family. And we said, well, what does that look like? And he came up with the idea, you know what? I want to take Fridays off and spend it with my kids, with my family, go playing and having fun. And that's what they do. And the kids are loving it. The wife thought, at first she thought, I don't know if this is going to last, because we've wanted to do this before and it just hadn't worked out. But now he's doing it, and everyone's so happy. And I see all the pictures because they send them to me all the time. And so that's one success story.
I love that.
And he's growing his business at the same time so that he's able to do that.
How can couples integrate corporate best practices into their small business without losing the heart and soul of their family values?
Oh, that's a good question. Coming up with your mission statement. What is important to you? And a lot of times this goes back to your childhood, the business that you got into. Like, Veronica, you're a counselor. And I'm thinking, you know what? There's probably some background history, your story of years ago.
1,000%. 1,000%.
And made you want to get into the profession that you're in. And that's like fuels you. And, and you're like, oh, I got to do this. And so finding something that you love and that you want to do and getting your family involved with it.
The next question I have, what advice would you give to a couple who feels they're losing sight of their relationship because of the demands of their business?
I would say start scheduling date nights down on the calendar and being true to it. We do like quarterly getaways, get that on the calendar. Our vacation, we get that on the calendar, and my husband's great at that. He usually does that the first of the year, because if we wait, like me, I'm spontaneous. Oh yeah, we'll go on vacation. It'll never happen, because it doesn't just magically appear.
No.
And so I say getting those on the calendar, especially at the first of the year, like what do you want to do this year, and put that down. Otherwise, that gives you something to look forward to. And talk about with your family. Hey, do you want to go on vacation? Do you want to do date night? What does that look like? What do you want to do? Do something that you both enjoy.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice you'd give to a couple who feels completely overwhelmed and on the brink of burnout?
Oh, I would say, where are you spending your time, especially in the business? And what is, how productive are you being in each of those areas? And do like a time log, because maybe all these things that you're doing aren't, you're not being productive in. And you need to let go of some of those things. You can either automate, delegate, or maybe you just need to do it later, like another time, because I can't do it all right now. What are the things that are important? And your zone of genius. What are the things you love to do? Because a lot of times in business, we're doing the things we love to do the least amount, because we're like wearing all these hats, putting out all these fires, doing a lot of things that other people could be doing for us, because we're the only one that can usually grow the business, come up with the innovations to move things forward. And we're doing that with the least amount of time. And a lot of times, if you're doing the things you love, that will help refill you.
Can you share a story of a couple you've worked with who transformed their relationship and business through your guidance?
Oh, I think of one couple. They're in construction, and as entrepreneurs, we all say we're not micromanagers. And he has a great team that works for him. He's always bragging about how good they are. And we finally got him to let go a little bit and give them more responsibility, let them take on the roles that they were wanting to take on. And he did it. And he came back to us and he said, oh my gosh, we got so much more done when I'm not around. He's like, I can't believe it. He's like, and the guys are so happy. So that was one success story where he just had to let go, and we held his hand and it worked out great. And then another success story with the same couple comes to mind as they were needing to raise their prices, because a lot of times we are underpriced and we're just barely getting by. And that's really stressful on the marriage and family as well. Or sometimes we're not even getting by, and they needed to raise their prices. And so she didn't want to, but he did. And then finally she came around to it and they did. And then the business seemed to just take off even more, because a lot of times when you're underpriced, you get clients that
they're not
serious.
No, they're asking for discounts. They're asking for way more. Yeah.
They take a lot of time. Where some of the higher end ones are like, okay, just,
we're just going to trust your expertise and we're going to follow your lead. And there's this high level of investment. Absolutely.
Let's just get in and get it done, kind of like thing. And they'll do whatever you ask of them.
Yeah. No. And we are a private pay practice. And same, I've noticed a complete shift in, the population, where people that are really, really invested in their care, they're ready to work. They're really, really receptive to the information and the feedback that you're giving them. Yeah, I completely agree. Your insights are invaluable. Do you have any resources, tools, or workshops to help entrepreneurial couples who are ready to take the next step?
Yes, please go to marriedentrepreneur.co/unapologetic, and you'll find out all of our resources. Yes, it's just a welcome page just for your, your people.
I love it.
You'll find our book, and we got some free resources there as well.
How can our listeners connect with you and learn more? So do you have social media that we can go ahead and follow?
Marriedentrepreneur.co/unapologetic is probably the best place. Or we are on
are you
Facebook?
On LinkedIn? Instagram,
yes, we're on LinkedIn. That one is Robert Fukui. And then LinkedIn is mine, Kay Lee Fukui. And then we're on Facebook at Thriving in Tandem, and Instagram at Thriving in Tandem as well.
What is one message you'd like to leave with couples who are navigating the challenges of marriage and entrepreneurship?
I want to give everybody an encouraging word, because you know what? Entrepreneurs are so, so important, you guys. If you go by the baseball field, it's not the big box that you see on the back of the jerseys. It's all the small business, and we need you guys, and we need your families intact as well, because they go hand in hand. And that is so important, that you guys are on the same page, moving forward, and making time for each other.
Yeah. I love it. I love everything you're doing. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. This is great.
Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute, because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, and you could take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.